Let's get back into trial and avenge Gregson's death at hands of apparently Judge Jigoku or Kazuma. I see Lord Chief Justice is still being the judge, jury, and executioner. Uh-huh. Yep, and you're at the head. Yes, and that means you're going to jail. Solved. Yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire, defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? Nah, Sholmes can't be the head of the Reaper. He is admitted to colluding with the victim in the plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of his freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? Today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. With my whole life for the last 10 years has been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma. Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. I suggest you prepare yourselves for the same, Reaper. It's gotta be the final day. How else are we gonna buy extra time? What else are we gonna investigate? The extinct at present, we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma standing before us? Extreme exception to normal practice as I've granted this prosecutor's request. Pence finds this acceptable, I presume. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. Resume the closed hearing of Beric Van Zieks. Defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. Prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. 1 second, gonna go greet everyone now that they're home. Alright, we're good. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena? I did what was necessary. Well, look at what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you'd take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he's also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. There he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiation. My all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never fancy seeing the young murdering student turning up here of all places. You acquitted me yourself! And now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. Came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. Then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. And explain yourself. What were the circumstances? Well, somewhat expecting this. Sorry to say. I decline to comment. What?! Leave the country prematurely when I was invited, a guest may be questionable etiquette. My decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? Appreciate that a respected police investigator has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. As simple as that. You'd run from all this? Let me look at the Gregson thing. Yeah, it's the part on top of the pocket watch. The crown. Yes. This is Gregson. Can I put it back on the pocket watch? Great minds do think alike. Alright, we got the information we needed. I beg your pardon? This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. This ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, I mean. That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. Vance has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku is involved in this case? The telegram from Japan! This is a telegram detailing the communication sent between Britain and Japan 1 year ago. Communication contains 4 names. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. You little... Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's all this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. He's gonna break the stand, yep. K. Asuki and A. Shin are the name of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett. But her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson, The murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi. Whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other. What exactly is the defense suggesting? 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. The telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? Telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you! Judge Jigoku, what's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission, but the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you! You deliberately avoided saying a name? The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Strongheart's the mastermind in Britain! His silence only goes to prove his guilt. Another very important point that this new development brings to light. Now a distinct possibility that the scene of the Inspector Gregson's actual murder is in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Gross. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. If you refuse, we'll put you in contempt of court. Ha! Oh, that's not the laugh I was expecting. No need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well, then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. Strongheart does not seem happy to hear him say he's going to tell everything he knows. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. Yeah, he thinks he's going to leave. As you wish, my lord. He bowed to Strongheart. That means Strongheart bad. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson, as a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. The evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. Lie! That's a lie! We've got evidence! Who needs to press statements when we freaking know that on the 31st there was a 20-minute time period where he wasn't there? If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it. So clearly I can't be involved. Admit that there was an assassin exchange. Political endeavor at the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here. It's such worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. The most appalling thing I've ever heard. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. What? That's why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? Kazuma? Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. Male Strongheart. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit I accepted the mission. On the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case. The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's conceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. That's right, Gregson was killed after returning to London, from the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barak Van Zieks. That's the prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. Are you kidding me? Come on, Strongheart, you knew. Government minister, high-ranking judge. Hello? Oh, Mr. Pot, hi. Pot calling the kettle? Wow, what are the odds? Controlled everything, you say? Kept close watch on what time it was? Yeah. Let's go present the evidence and move on with our lives. We're not going to bring up the foreign exchange tour. We're going to prove Gregson could have been shot and no one would have heard. Okay. Yep.
Objection!
Get out of here, Jigoku. Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? Have here in notice a particular event that was scheduled to take place on board the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Scholz. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Easiest objection of my life. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Gross were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts. During that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Arg!
Objection!
They're gonna give me a hard one next after that. 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find for Inosuke, but it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony. There's a gunshot wound in the wall! Very true, well counseled. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night, I'm certain of it. Because the defense has evidence to prove it. Oh, shoot! We didn't get the bullet! I guess we gotta present the crown? What proof do you have the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin? He left part of his watch.
Take that!
Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch. A pocket watch. You'll observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. Grrr. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill in the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? I'm not a murderer!
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. What now, Kazuma? Your argument sounds entirely plausible, at first. Rather like this pocket watch. It's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. I think it's clear. The witness will have to give further testimony. Hear what actually happened in my cabin that night. You'll notice the pitfall into which you stumbled. Yeah. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume? Yes, I do. Very well, then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of 31st October. Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. Just killing an inspector, hiding the evidence, and trying to flee the country. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, waving a gun at me. I took care of him with an Ippon Seo throw, though. He couldn't wait to run away after that. Slight F. Imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with this murder. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain because his body was found in London. Ippon Seo. Common jujitsu martial art technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Oh yeah, oh, it did drop some frames, huh? Let's check out why. Which button shows that? I don't know. Oh, this one. Stats. What happened? Dropped frames network. Okay. The network had a little hiccup. What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves the victim's murder took place. We saw a gunshot! A gun... bullet hole in the wall! Sholmes, where's our photographic print? How could you let this happen to Gregson? To Gregson! We've already used all 3 of our new pieces of evidence! Sorry, my lord, defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. I could say the same to you, Mr. Fling with my pants down. Uh-huh.
Hold it!
Tell me more about Gregson. Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson. Yes, at the time, I didn't know the man's name. There's no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. Which you mean, the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose? Certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. I would think the man had never shot somebody before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there's no time to call for help with the other crewmen at the door. I dealt with the man myself.
Hold it!
Tell me more about Gregson running away. Yeah, wait, there wasn't a crewman at the door, was there? We didn't mention that in the testimony. Yeah, that's not in the testimony, so we can't object to that. Yeah, there's a bullet hole in the wall. Miko Taba side 2!
Hold it!
He was killed on the steamship in France. How on earth can you go back to Britain? The steamship? Man, if only we had a suitcase that you could easily fit someone into. Except for when it's from a judge. Shizato? Gregson has to have been in the case at the time of the photo. I was right. Alter your testimony. No possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. Okay. We don't have his case itself, but we have a photograph with the case, so let's try presenting this and then crying when it's wrong.
Objection!
Never mind, we're right. No possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do so, transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Gregson! He's right there! Passport check and luggage searches at the border took a lot of time. Must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you'd be jealous. Ha ha ha! Presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku. It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large traveling trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting. I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk! Order in the court! I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. Well, we've got 2 people who can prove it. I hid in a travel trunk, and Jigoku hid in his own travel trunk. It could. As I happen to know, the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. Verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? But inside his trunk, how horrifying! After we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you got the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. You don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Gori, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. He's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. I'm sure they are, but one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on long sea voyages. SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotaba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Ha 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 ha. Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already. Jigoku, please stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. Let's has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, let's first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. The accused, Barrick Van Zeeks, shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's not the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here. Oh, the prosecution's claim is the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, because the claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. We don't have the fish and chips in our possession, though. Thank you, Hosonaga. Can we call Sholmes again? Okay. Alright, very tantalizing, counsel. Think you'd better explain yourself to the court, don't you? Prosecution claims Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. Evidence clearly contradicts that claim. The bullet exited from behind the body. The fish isn't in the autopsy, though, is it? I guess we can present it and hope.
Take that!
Nope, it's not the autopsy report. Unless? Nope. Victim killed in the room on Fresno Street, or was he moved there after his death? It's one piece of evidence we have that shows the answer to that question surprisingly clearly. I would love a hint at what the correct one is, though, Susato. Okay, what else do we have?
Take that!
Nope. I thought it was the watch! Okay, time to save before we run out of things. I was like, oh yeah, he didn't wind the pocket watch. We do have the bulletin board. Oh, no. We don't have that bulletin board. We have a different board. The picture maybe. I'm thinking part of it's the red hairpiece, because he clearly wasn't wearing the hairpiece at the time of death. Let's try it.
Take that!
Yeah. Point is the posture of the body itself. Oh yeah, because he curled up in the fetal position, because he was in the case. So out of the question, his body would have been curled up in a ball. Sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. You could easily have adapted that fetal position. The pain of the shot which proved
Objection!
Sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that's flawed. What? According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less been able to draw himself into that position. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Well, the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting. The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor. From the inside of a large travel trunk. You're quite right. The shape of the body looks exactly as if it had been confined in a confined space. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. It's very possible it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Arg! Present my trunk, I refuse! What? On what grounds? I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling, baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to. At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in a trial in British's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Fuck! Jigo, how could you? Conspiring with Strongheart. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious. You did it? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi? What? Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You, dear God, outrageous. So it was you. You admit to being Inspector Gregson's... No, I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. You're gonna say Kazuma did it? Then who's gonna prosecute the case? Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma! You... I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth. Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't! So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson. Only one of them did it. I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. Defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. Either the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... This is my answer. We're gonna save the game. And I'm gonna pick what I think is the option, but that might lead to a game over. I'm thinking it's possible, but not likely. So I'm gonna go possible, and then we're gonna get testimony. It is possible. I will leave it, but the fact is, I can't say with complete certainty what actually happened, because I wasn't there! You disappoint me, Ryunosuke. If I may, Mr. Naruhodo. So I form opinions based on evidence. Ah, so true. If we have evidence, I can settle this argument conclusively. Lord, the defense would like to present evidence in support of... Oops. It's impossible. Don't remember what I said. Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. Saying that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. Present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Professor Asogi's involvement? Alright, it's either the case or the sword. I'm not sure. First try, heck yeah.
Take that!
Trunk! Nope. It's neither of those? It's impossible. No way. First try. We did it. He didn't do it. Let me show you my evidence. Gotta think. Barclay Prison. Timestamp. No features. Pocket watch. Autopsy report. Passport. Photograph. Sword. Drill. Telegram. No, probably not. No. Oh, this one. The autopsy report.
Take that!
Nope. It's not the autopsy report? What is it? Ah, yes, it's Mrs. Vigil. You're right! Are we sure it's not the sword? I think it could be the sword, right? Oh no, the gun maybe. Alright, it's either the gun or the sword. I'm gonna try gun first.
Take that!
Nope. I hereby pledge I will never call anyone out for save scumming ever again. Sword.
Take that!
Nope. It's not the sword, it's not the gun, it's not the autopsy report. Then what is it? What do we have left? Let's reread the facts again. He changed his story last second. He did change his story last second. What does that mean? We don't have any testimony about his story, do we? Hold on, let's scroll up in the history. I had the opportunity. The evacuation. Yes. Departure. Oh yeah, it's after the departure.
Take that!
Okay, I just needed to read. Itinerary for crew members. This is a conclusive proof. Itinerary. How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledged that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? Not even question, as always, the crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable the guard wouldn't have heard him. Come to investigate. That tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. That narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. The crucial point is this. The evacuation drill took place. The steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Ah. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at that time. Prosecutor Asugi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. Spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asugi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Gah! No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship, just waiting for his chance to come back and finish them. No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. As I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof. No! There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer, as a common man. And he's gonna break the bench. No, it's not a bench, the witness stand, yeah. You killed Gregson and transported his corpse to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku? It's that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Ah! Witness smash! Holy crap! He made it levitate in the air! It's over. My life is over. Wow! I didn't realize he had superpowers. British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade convictions and return safely to their homelands. Yeah, he's got telekinesis. Why didn't he just do all the work? The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request. It was a demand. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asugi. They're gonna use iron bars. Things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin didn't make it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at that time. In Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there's but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume? That's right. Decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain, so I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. They made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? There's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah. That means the assassin exchange was planned by the Reaper. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's missions and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. It's all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. There was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting. Within 20 minutes after 10 o'clock, I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move. I received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. So, the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Gross. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street. Your judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There's no way I could take the body up on deck and throw it over the side. It's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. Before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse into the refrigeration room. Then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boo, whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage with the body still in my trunk. Must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. Fresno Street spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus! I conceived of the candle trick then and there. I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case, so I put that on. I suspect I drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece was found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation. I only arrived at the room around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. Arranged so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boo, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into the trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips. I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room and put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Thank God for fish and chips! Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Alright, now we go after Strongheart. Right? Can we bring in a new witness stand? I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. An exchange of assassins? What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who is your counterpart in Britain? Who is the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us! Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Hang on, we're on trial for Van Zeeks! You're supposed to go not guilty for Van Zeeks! Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. May I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Objection! No? Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. Short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond— Hey, they got a new witness stand-in! Yes, thank you. Something wrong? Just a little troubled by his silence. True identity of the Reaper of the Bailey, this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries as a prosecutor. As you wish. Now for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barak Van Zieks.
Objection!
Oh? Kazuma? The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? Hugh's innocence hasn't been fully established at all. Therefore, it'd be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. Prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Jigoku's already confessed. Nevertheless, Barak Van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony he was coerced to complying with the plot. There's a sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who is pulling the strings? The victim went to France, having been ordered on a mission from the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. We've already established the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. Prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dark, Barak Van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey. And furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? This came out of left field. Order, order, order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case? Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard. Found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. Stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Very well, whilst it's extremely irregular. I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. Hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplemental hearing. It's just not the same without the jurists there. Ooh, boot on the stand! Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord Van Zieks! At first, I had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. Ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. And let justice aside, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as a primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought about by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. What says the defense? Putting the defendant in the witness stand would be extremely dangerous. For him to fall on his face. Kazuma's emotional at the moment. He's not thinking logically. You're right, he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer and as his friend. That's what we must do. Defense has no objection, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord. Whew. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there is no reason to suspect me of being behind the Assassin Exchange. Well, there's one thread. It's, I'm not sure you know about it, considering Iris stole it, but... Whew. My throat's starting to hurt a little bit, so I'm not going to voice this little section. Especially since it's doing the Van Zieks voice for an extended period. Yes? To prove the identity of the Reaper. Uh-huh. I can't wait to get the old judge back up there and put Strongheart on the stand. Or better yet, let's get the Queen up there. Let's have the Queen make an appearance at the very end. I mean, he's not wrong. There's a contradiction in there. It's not a easy to see one, but... Okay. Just for safety's sake, I'm going to do ye olde save. And ye olde ding dong, your statement is wrong.
Objection!
Yes, it's the autopsy report of your brother, which was done by Wilson and forced to be carried out by Gregson. We've got our thread. That's not the undeniable truth, it's just that Van Zieks is wrong. There is a common thread. There's no reason he'd want them both dead. In fact, he'd thank them. Yep, the professor. Gregson. How did he do that? Yeah, what was the evidence? Fabricated evidence? Huh. Hey, toasting his tenacity of purpose. How nice of you, Varric. Oh. You failed as a lawyer. Yeah, where's your evidence? The truth? Closely guarded secret about what went on in the autopsy 10 years ago. Yep. Gregson. What? Just following orders from who? And then he hit the box. Wait, but he got in after. He's the second prosecutor. Strongheart was the main prosecutor. Alright. Varric Van Zieks, I'd like you to testify about the events that led to you becoming the prosecutor in that trial. Kazuma Asogi. What? What you've just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know the name of the Reaper. What? Lord Van Zieks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. If Lord Van Zieks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. You? I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. A true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is Male Strongheart! The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Male Strongheart! What? Lord Strongheart? Woo! Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. He only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zieks, had been killed. Yeah, that one was leaning towards obvious. Jigoku's involvement in the case was more of a shock for me. And Gregson being dead. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zieks? 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords, to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given in the autopsy reports, it all came from you. What? No, Herlock Sholmes is a good guy! I spent my entire life believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now. I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. That same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seishiro Jigoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when you recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey! The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. That would be a big twist, but like, I don't know how he twists his way out of this. Formal accusal, don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense. A wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? I claim there was somewhat wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zieks' autopsy. That's utterly...
Objection!
But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now. Unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. Hey, I did that once. Twice, actually. Actually, no, Godo summoned a ghost to the stand once. I did it the second time. You mean to say... I forget how the system works in your little backwater country. In the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Arg! Come on, Sholmes and Mikotama, come to the rescue! Order in the court, following Inspector Gregson's murder, in light of Dr. Wilson's death as well. There's no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? That was the real purpose of the assassination exchange. This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections. Kazuma has more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? There's no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zieks' autopsy. If only there were 3 people at the autopsy. That's extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks. And so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan. I'm sure Dr. Wilson and Dr. Scythe won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope. It would seem that 3 people were present at the time of the autopsy. Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about that autopsy. Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left. Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, please! This trial can't end! Not yet! Not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zieks is the author of the autopsy, Eugene
Take
Mikotaba.
that!
Heaven help us, another Japanese? An expert in forensic medicine, my lord, Professor Eugene Mikotaba, 16 years ago. He came to London with Seishiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student. What could his testimony possibly tell us? Professor Mikotaba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature. It is the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Mikotaba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands Professor Mikotaba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. Defense's demand is denied. What? Professor Mikotaba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes. Oh, of course he's not going to agree to it. Stargard has no intention of summoning anyone he knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. This time I don't have the requisite evidence. It's exactly why we need this witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by a Japanese Supreme Court Judge, Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they'll be investigated in due course by the proper
Objections!
Y'all know what will happen. I'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me? Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you'll be remanded for following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust that you gave your word. Arg! This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. Kazuma! Grrr. Warg! Well said, Kazuma. That will be all. Hereby declare this trial to be over. The court is... Who is it? Eugene? Sholmes? Sholmes! Woohoo! Oh, his tune! Mr. Sholmes! There's no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the court at once. Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. This court shall hear what he has to say. Lord Mael Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You can only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind those disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It would seem we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along at the prevarications of your superiors? He's not even in the picture. He's gonna break the horn. Order in the court. It seems to me we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices, a door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence! He's right! The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end. Will that really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person present who can say he doesn't feel the same? What? Trials will go on. Summon the witness! That's right, we need to clear this up before the young Japanese fellow is remanded in custody. My lord, you assured those present that you would uncover the whole truth here. Vindicate yourself with this outlandish accusation. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. Testify! 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 Well, my lord, you hear the voices of the British justice, I take it. I think you will find it rather awkward to silence. Testify! Testify! The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene. Recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Mikotaba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Mr. Mikotaba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know? Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo, catch! Ah, yes! I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you. Absolutely! It's still in my pocket. She sends her regards and a reminder. You find yourself at a dead end, those ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course. We got Sholmes in our pocket. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. Woohoo! So it's Lord Stronghart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? How deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Get it? Because his name is Mael Stronghart. Woo! The heart of the maelstrom. Oh, that's evil.